I think she's trying to find different ways to make sure that I don't do any sewing. It's crazy the way Mama Cat does. She just loves my sewing. It's got something to do with me. Oh. But there she is. Alright, let's see what we can do here. I'm sewing them together, but I'm keeping, you have to get in the way, don't you? Alright, and keeping them in a pile and making the colors the same. So, Mama Cat, no, don't do that. She want to play with my bird. No, quit. Get my needle. There she goes. Oh. There. Let's see what. So I'm threading my thread to make me a knot so it won't go out, and I am making small stitches, so hopefully it'll hold together. And it's kind of a little bit hard, but I got a longer needle, and it's got a bigger eye on it so I can see it, and hopefully I got a bunch to do, and I know it's going to take me a while, because I can't stay with it 24/7, not even 8 hours, but I'm going to try to do all of them I've got now. And oh, come on, don't do that. I hate this one that does that. Okay, let's see if I can take one. Ooh, yeah. Let's try this again. Okay, now let's go back in there and do it again. Maybe. Okay, wrong one. That's this one. Oh, come on, don't do that. I don't want to have to re-sew that. Ah, dadgummit. Why? Why the hell does this do this? Alright. I'm not going to worry about it. I can't worry about it. We're going to do it again. Just so that we can get some of it out of the way. There ain't much I can do about it. Alright, now. So, anyway. Try to tie it before I do this, so I have my tie down. Alright. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay. This is getting confusing, Sandy. I know it. And it don't have to be. You're just stressed because you just can't get nothing right. Anyway. Alright. So, here we go with another one. Hopefully, I can get it right. And make a small one. We got a bunch to do. Make sure it's, there we go. Oh, I can't wait to get started on the rest of it and get them done. And see what we can do there. Alright, now. Now, I think you got it, how I'm doing it. There we go. Alright, now, we got the next one. And I'm just going to start this one. Alright. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and work some more on them and try to get them done. See here, this is the ones I got left. I got days worth. Days and days worth. Alrighty. I had a knot on this right here needle. And I cut it off and I got enough to finish it. So I threaded my two threads in one needle. And that way I can go right on ahead and continue to put this right here and finish it up and get it done. Yes. And I am so glad. Alright, let's cut that off and continue on. I've got, let's see how many more I've got. I've got this side to finish and this one to finish. And then I've got these right here. Now each one of these are 2. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 here. So every time that I lay it out, I have 2 to sew together. Oh boy, and I've got this many down on this side. I don't know how many it is. I'm not going to count it. And then this one's the same. Oh, I can't wait to get these done. I'm ready to sew on the ones that goes on the end. And I'll show you how I'm going to put them on when I get done with all these. Because these right here need to be done first, no matter what I do. Because without these, you can't put the quilt together. Alright, I found me some beeswax. And I'm hoping it'll stop it from doing that. Alright, I don't have no knot on the end of this. So hopefully, when I do this, I can not worry about it making any knots and messing me up again. I'm glad I found it. I mean, I got so much stuff, I just, God, they ain't no telling where anything is anymore. Alright. Let's see what we can do about taking us a break a minute. Alrighty. I'll just learn something. I gotta say it. I got to tell it. I got to tell it. This Bible verse here. Alright, Revelations 12:4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth, And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be devoured, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Alright, we're going to go back to look at the Salem witch trial. And we're also going to look at when Jesus Christ was crucified. Now, Jerusalem, it's before it became Jerusalem, it was called Salem, and they changed it to Jerusalem. All right, so when America, its name, it means the feathered serpent. Alright, when Jesus Christ was crucified, the feathery serpent took off, was 4 days up in the sky. It was one great big old huge light. And it came down right at Salem here in the United States. And that's how the Salem witch trial started. There was a witch, and she would leave her body and go to a oh, I like that it didn't leave a knot on her. She would leave her body and go to a meeting that they had, and the Mormons would go. They're Satanists. Mormons are. I can't help it. That's the way the history says it. And this teacher would teach the children, and the children and all were the ones that would say, "Hey, they're a witch, they're a witch," and then they would most indefinitely put them, hang them and all. So that's how the children got involved. Is that woman would leave her body, she'd go to this meeting, and somebody there at the meeting, whoever was in charge of the meeting, said that they wanted them to start hurting the children. And then they said that the children, that it was witches when they weren't, as Protestants. Okay, let's see if I can. So the children would go after the Christians. Me and Rick always thought that it was the Catholic that did it, but it wasn't. It was the Mormons. You'd have to go and listen to Now You See TV and all. And he shows you everything, and how everything is led up to the Salem witch trial. I think it's very interesting, and all right, so let's see what else we could do here. No, don't do that. That's another thing. I grabbed this thread right there, and I always mess it up. Line it back out there.
What you doing for passing?
It's supposed to be on a shirt.
It's not.
Oh well, I don't know. Alright.
There it is.
Alright, now I got about one or two more on there. Alright. I just had to come on and say that and tell you that, because that is most and definitely interesting. Alright, I'm going to put this aside while I got the opportunity I can record. I'm going to, so I'm going to put these right there and this up in here. Alright, now I want to put that out. Now, I have this, and I'm not ready for this or the green, but I am ready for this one. So we're going to work on those. Those are the next ones that need to be done. Alright. So, garbage. Alright. This right here, there's two different colors here. Believe it or not. And I'm going to get two of them. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the two so that, because this is the next one that we need. So I'm going to line it up.
None of those people are being helped by any of the stuff that they're going on there. Nobody's being cured. Okay? And you consider now that there are more psychiatric drugs on this planet. There are more psychiatrists and psychologists on this planet than there has ever been in the history of mankind. And look at the mess we're in. The prisons are filled to overflowing. The state and mental hospitals are filled to overflowing. The mental health centers are overwhelmed. Nobody is being cured. Okay? The CDC reports 132 people kill themselves in the U.S. Every day. Every day, 132 people. Suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in the United States. And most of those guys are depressed, and they're depressed on the psychiatric mafia's antidepressant drugs. It hasn't impacted the suicide rate at all. In 2021, 48,000 Americans killed themselves. Last year, it was almost 50,000. 50,000 people, soldiers, died in Vietnam. Okay, in 10 years. Every year, 50,000 U.S. citizens are killing themselves. Year after year after year. And this is with as many psychiatric drugs as dump trucks loads. I mean, they have mountains of psychiatric drugs now. They're graduating more and more psychologists and more psychiatrists. This situation isn't getting any better. You know, between 2000 and 2018, suicide rates increased 37%. You know, an estimated 24 veterans are killing themselves daily. Okay? From 2006 to 2016, the suicide rate increased by 2% a year, with 1.4 million suicide attempts in 2017 and 47,000 deaths.
All right, let's see what we can do here. I'll finish cutting them out. Now, I have two. Let me just do it this way. Get one of each one. Got two of each one here, or one of each one. However I'm trying to say it. We're going to take one side and we're going to sew it to that side, and then one to this side. So that way, I wonder if it'd be better to put it like that. I think I'd like that one better. I think the colors hit out better. And then I'm going to sew these down. Turn that one around. And then that one's supposed to go right there. Okay. So there those are. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. and sew them down to that one. Then that way, we have them done. Alright. Well, Mama Cat, what are you doing? You're laying on my stuff again, ain't you? What are we going to do about all that? Leave you alone? Because tomorrow, I'm going to hopefully get back to it. Can't do it tonight.
It's wild. This is really taking a toll on, I think, a larger amount of people than what we can, or at least me, coming into this conversation, imagined. Earlier, you were saying some things that really kind of, you mentioned about the voices, that everybody has that, the thoughts that come into your mind. And I could attest that it's something that I've never thought about before a whole lot. But I remember when I used to drive truck, there would be times that I would be standing there next to a guy on a forklift. There's always a guy on a forklift. It was the weirdest thing, but there's always a guy on a forklift. And I'd be standing next to him and he'd be signing the paperwork. And as he's looking down, signing the paperwork, this thought in my head would be, man, you could clock this guy in the face right now and he would never see it coming. Always a guy on a forklift. And you talk about the patterns. And I always thought that I just had a sick mind. I was just like, man, why do you always think about that when somebody's, signing your paperwork on a forklift?
Yeah, that's them.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that, underneath those, that idea, I think that a lot of people don't totally realize the depths of the matter. I had years ago, I'd say probably at least 3 years ago now, there was a guy that contacted me about his girlfriend, and him and his girlfriend wanted to sit down and talk with me. And he said that she was schizophrenic, and that they wanted to sit and talk with me about what life was like, being the boyfriend of a schizophrenic person. And we were planning the whole thing out, and then he came back to me and said that she's not going to talk to me. That she was scared to talk to me because the voices told her that they didn't want her talking to me.
Right. I ran into that over and over and over again. And they would actually make the patient miserable if they did talk to me.
Yeah. And so she didn't. He talked to me, and I think that was the introduction to me thinking to myself, I really think there might be something more to the schizophrenia issue than just, voices in somebody's head.
Yeah, and that is true. It's, if they're running patterns, they can't be hallucinations, as the psychiatric mafia says they are. Now, you can see these patterns for yourself. I mean, it's not like they're not hidden up in some genetics lab or a biochemistry lab. Anybody who is living with, working with, or dealing with schizophrenics can go to my website at jerrymarzinski.com and see these patterns for themselves. They're right in front of your eyes. Nobody's, you don't have to believe anything. You can see it for yourself. Unlike this genetic stuff and this biochemical imbalance stuff that the psychiatric mafia and this big pharma comes up with. Oh, just trust us. Just trust us. This is what it is. Now, look at the money these guys are making. This is what's driving this whole thing. These people could care less if anybody's getting better. They don't make money by people getting better. They make money by treating people endlessly with these toxic drugs. So the antidepressant market in the U.S. only is expected to hit 1.98 billion by 2023. We're talking billion.
Wow.
Now, it's $15.98 billion. This is for antidepressants that are not fixing anything. Now, MACE will cure depression. Okay? The global antipsychotic sales, these are global, are $14.54 billion in 2021 and expected to reach $15.5 billion by 2022. $1 billion on antipsychotic drugs that are rotting people's brains out. Look at how many people they're destroying slowly with these drugs. Another big lie of theirs is their DSM, their directory of mental illnesses. They have this big directory, they call it the DSM. with all these different mental illnesses, and it looks like a real scientific piece of work. They have them all categorized, and these 303.10 and da 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 da, and all the characteristics and all these descriptions. It looks like it's a real scientific piece of work. The whole thing is completely made up. It's fabricated. There's not one objective test to verify any of those diagnoses in that manual at all. They're made up by a group of psychiatrists, 2/3 of which are associated with Big Pharma. They meet every few years, and they make up new mental illnesses to put into this directory. And then Big Pharma goes, well, can we make a drug to treat that thing? It's all a sham. It's a big sham. Well, I'm running out of time here.
Yeah.
We got another someplace I got to be in just a few minutes. Any questions right off the bat? Any? Too bad
no,
because I have here a transcript from one of the patients I worked with. I was going to read that if we have time. I have a letter from a psychotic killer who killed 4 people. He cut his girlfriend into 1 million pieces. They still haven't found her body. I got a poem written by him.
And is that the poem you sent me earlier?
I don't know what I sent you there. No, did I send you a story? I sent you a story, right?
Yeah, you sent me a story.
Yeah, that's a story of one of the, that story took place in the emergency room. That's a true story.
So it's a true story.
True story.
Wow.
She had killed somebody too.
So the story, you're talking about the story called Black Toads?
Right.
Wow.
That took place in the emergency room when I was working psych crisis and emergency room.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I might, if you don't mind, I might read it or something like that for the audience at some point here.
Okay. Go ahead.
Listen, you said, do you have any questions? I could talk to you about there's so much, right? But I would love to maybe have you back on sometime and we can dive into more of a conversation. You did a fantastic job laying out how you got from where you started to now. And one thing you said was, don't get bored. And it's something that I'm notorious. I say it all the time to guys, and I say a bored man is a dangerous man. And what you just said, what you just kind of laid out, and then said, "Don't get bored." I'm like, man, that puts a whole other definition to what I mean. Like, because I think when guys get bored, they tend to do things that they regret later. They get in trouble. Men need to have something to do. They need to keep busy. At least I find that for myself.
Oh, that's especially true of schizophrenics, man. That's especially true with them.
I believe it. And you gave so much information here. The Psalm 22 or 23 and 91, very interesting perspective there, because I mean, I come from what you're doing. I mean, what you're doing is you're laying the groundwork here for a spiritual realm that's impacting the physical realm, and you've experienced that exactly when the crackling comes through. Man, I could just talk to you forever, but I know we had a limited period of time today, and we'll communicate moving forward, and we'll definitely bring you back on, and we can have more of a back and forth and stuff. But I really greatly appreciate you coming on, and all the links to all your stuff that you sent will be in the description of this episode, so people can check you out. But thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. If it wasn't for guys like you, I'd be out in the wilderness screaming at the trees. I mean, it's like, crying out in the desert. It's like, you're the people who are getting this information out to the people that need it. Because I can guarantee you none of this is going to get out through the mainstream media or through the universities or through the psychiatric mafia or through psychologists. It's not going to get out. It's only going to get out through you guys. They're going to resist this to the max. They don't want anything to do with any of this. Yeah.
It's a perfect storm in the sense that you have this industry now of people who don't really buy into the narrative that's been given to us. And we also now have a voice. 20 years ago, this was not possible.
Right.
And so they control the narrative. But now there's a lot of people like me that just are like, listen, we're not doctorates, we don't know, we just don't believe you, and we're going to talk to people who might present other ideas. And so that's what we do. And listen, I don't have a reputation to lose. Everybody thinks I'm already an idiot, so it doesn't matter to me.
And I don't care either. I'm going to tell what I experienced, and nobody can change that. I've experienced all these things. I've been there. Nobody's going to come and go, oh, well, you might be making a mistake. No, get out of my face. I've been there, and I can go back there too. I mean, I understand what schizophrenics are hearing. I understand how they operate. You know, I can speak to them on their terms now.